everyone. Hope you're all doing well. So today we are going to cover this particular chapter, Weathering the Storm in Ersama from grade 9 NCERT. In this chapter is written by MANDER. MANDER is a researcher, he's a columnist, he's a social activist, he's also a teacher, and his writings are known primarily for the fact that he is talking to the common people. He is talking about the people who are suffering due to the communal rights, due to natural calamities, due to epidemics, the people who are suffering. And what is their condition is what is reflected in his stories. Now, he was born on 17th April 1955, and he still teaches in St. Stephen's College, Delhi University. So his stories, as I said, he is a part of a lot of campaigns, a lot of campaigns that he started, a lot of movements that he started. And definitely he gains the media attention due to his liberal thinking and liberal remarks about certain aspects, political aspects. Okay. Now when we talk about this particular story, Weathering the Storm in Ersama, so today we are going to cover the summary of the story. We are also going to talk about the theme, the message, and the title of the story. Now moving on to the summary of the story, yes, it is a true story of a teenager, a 19-year-old boy in Orissa in 1999 during the cyclonic storm. Now Orissa is a part of that coastal belt where normally the cyclones, they do hit, okay, and they create a havoc in the lives of the people who are living in that area. So this story, Weathering the Storm in Ersama is a coastal town. And there was a cyclone that hit that coastal town in 1999. And what were its repercussions in surrounding areas is what is reflected in this chapter. So it starts with the introduction to our main character, which is Prashant, the protagonist of the story. Prashant, who's a 19-year-old boy. And this boy, he went on 27th October 1999 to meet his friend who used to stay in Ersama. Okay. Prashant had lost his mother 7 years back, but yet he was very, very connected to his family. He was very close to his family. And he went to meet his friend in Ersama. The same night, a menacing cyclone just hit that area. And when it hit, there were strong winds, stormy winds, strong weather, it was all storm and, incessant rains that, followed this cyclone. So he could see, that the surrounding areas, the surrounding houses were all damaged, destroyed. If they were made up of bricks and stones, the houses could still survive. But if they were kacha houses made up of clay, they were unable to stand this kind of harsh weather. Now, when Prashant was already staying in his friend's house due to this cyclone, two coconut trees fell onto the roof of this friend's house. 3 days they were trapped in that house. They could not come out, and there was floods because of incessant rain. So they all moved to the roof of the house. 3 days they could only survive because of the tender coconuts which were on those coconut trees. They were drinking that, and for 3 days they could survive because of that. On the third day, Prashant made up his mind on seeing the destruction around. He wanted to see what condition his family is in. And he started for his village, which was 18 kilometers away, Kaliguda. His friend and his family persuaded him not to go, warned him not to go because it was not a good condition. But Prashant insisted that he wanted to meet his friends and family. So he started his journey, 18 kilometers long journey from Ersama to Kalipura. And on the way, he saw some deadliest scenes one can imagine. The floating corpses, the floating carcasses, okay, destroyed houses, some destruction material which was floating in the water. He had a long stick with him which helped him to push away the corpses and the carcasses and just make his way through to cover those 18 kilometers. On the way, he saw some people walking into the water, and he found that it was his uncle and his friends who were also marching towards their village. Prashant got a ray of hope and he started moving with them. So when they moved further, they saw that it was only the site of destruction and damage that they could monitor on the way. When they reached their village, Prashant saw his house, and it was hard to believe if anybody could have survived. It was that damaged. Every house in his village was damaged like that. They got to know that there's a Red Cross relief camp which was organized. They straight away headed to the Red Cross relief camp. Prashant's eyes were unstoppable. They were searching for his loved ones, for his family members, and suddenly he caught the sight of his maternal grandmother. It was a sight. It was a relief for him to see his grandmother, and then gradually he found all of his family members there. But on the contrary, he saw the condition of the relief camp, how filthy it was. It was filled with vomit and dirt, and people were staying in that because they did not have a choice. On seeing his family members all hale and hearty, he made up his mind. He stood up to take up this step and clean the relief camp and provide for the people who were staying in the relief camp, because he was seeing some children who were orphaned due to this cyclone. There were some widows who were crying, who were in that state of grief and trauma because they had lost their husbands, their children, their family members. It was a very disheartening sight for him. So Prashant took up this onus to ensure that he provides for all these people. So he started by forming a team of volunteers. The moment he formed a team of volunteers, the first thing was to start providing food for the families. So Prashant, along with his team of volunteers, he went to the local merchants who were stocking up the grains in order to sell them at a higher price later. So Prashant, with his team of volunteers, he went to the local merchants to request them to part away with the stock that they had, because at the moment there was a need for others to fulfill. Local merchants who had earlier refused now agreed to Prashant's request and gave away the grains, how much ever grains they needed. When they came back with the grains, the women in the relief camp were asked to start cooking for the members. And finally, after so many days, the people were able to feed themselves to their belly full. The children were able to be fed. Now, food part was being taken care of. Now, the other thing was cleaning of the relief camp. So Prashant, with his team of volunteers, he started cleaning the relief camp, providing the washed bed sheets, washed sheets for everyone, clean place for everyone to stay, because there were some people who were still sick. And normally, after such epidemic, after such a catastrophe, natural catastrophe, which is a flood or a cyclone, there is a high danger, there is a high chance of epidemic to spread. So if there was no cleanliness, it was definite that it was about to happen. So Prashant took up this opportunity to ensure that there are, the relief camp where everybody was staying was clean and tidy. After the cleaning of the camp, then the other thing was that they noticed that there was a helicopter that would come once a day and drop the food parcels. It was not possible for the helicopters a single trip to supply so many food parcels to feed 2,500 people. So a plan was devised that the children in the relief camp would take up any utensil which is available to them and would lie down facing the sky. That would give an indication to the helicopters that there are more food parcels which are needed. And thankfully, this idea worked. There were, instead of just one trip in a day, there were 3 to 4 to 5 trips that the helicopters made, and then they provided sufficient food material for the people to survive. Now the food part was being taken care of, the cleanliness was taken care of. Now the other thing that came to Prashant's notice was that people were grieved, they were disheartened, they were lonely. So in order to engage the people, he started devising these plans, these ideas, so that children who are orphans can be engaged. He set up he started some tournaments so that children can play. He used to play with them himself. Then for the widows, they were asked, the women, not just the widows, but the women, they were asked to join a food for work program which was started by an NGO, so that they can divert their mind from that grief and they can engage themselves in some work. The little children, orphans, the toddlers, the infants, the government, they had sent the agencies, the orphanages, the women welfare associations. These people, they came in order to take those children and the widows to the women welfare, widow welfare houses and orphanages, to which Prashant refused. He said that the children of the community can be given to the foster families who can take care of the children, and they can be raised in the same environment. So this idea was very much appreciated by the people, and they started giving these little children to the widows, to the foster families who can take care of them, and these children can get a good environment, an environment which is healthy for all of them to grow. So with this level of involvement from Prashant, this level of dedication, made him a hero in that village. He had helped the families who were grief-stricken, who were bereaved of their loved ones. He had helped them overcome that moment, that part which was empty, which was a vacuum, a created vacuum by the cyclone. He helped in filling up that. And after 6 months of this incident, Prashant was a person whom everybody in the village looked up to for their griefs, for their traumas, for anything that was concerning them. Prashant became their hero. He was the one who had helped them in their times of grief. Okay? So this is the story of Prashant, the protagonist. Okay? Now when we come to the theme of this story, the theme that this particular story, what it reflects the how the natural calamities, they can create a havoc in the lives of people, the condition of people, okay? How they are, the repercussions of these kind of natural calamities, what kind of mindset the people are left. They are devastated. Okay, so this is what is reflected in the story, but also there is a positive side which is reflected, that every single person, the moment that single person attains that or takes the onus of leadership, of doing something for others, he can do it. Every person is capable of doing something great for others. This is what is reflected in this story. Now when we come to the message that is conveyed through this story. So yes, the conveyed message is that When we talk about the natural calamities can create havoc in the lives of people, not just the places, but also the people who stay in that. And the second message that is conveyed through this is that every person has a strong will to overcome the grief provided and provide for others also. Every person is capable to ensure that he takes up the leadership to the onus to help others in order to overcome their grief. And here in this case, in this story, it was Prashant. Prashant, who though himself was just a 19-year-old teenager in the tender age in which children are just, discovering life, what outside life can be, he took up this ownership and helped the families of his village. Now, this is the message which is conveyed through this particular story. Now, moving on to the title of the story, Weathering the Storm. Weathering the storm in Ersama. Ersama is a place, okay? But weathering the storm, how the word weather has been used as a verb. Weathering the storm. So here, weathering the storm is how you are overcoming the effects of a cyclone. That is the first meaning of the title. The second meaning of the title is the emotional upheavals that such kind of storms can create. How emotionally drained people can be when they are facing such situations. So how to overcome that emotional upheaval is what is reflected in the story. And that is why this title is appropriately placed, is appropriately selected by the writer MANDER. Now, when we have discussed the theme, message, and the title of the story, definitely, how can we forget the protagonist of the story, that is Prashant. So we are going to talk about Prashant's character traits. So when we start with the character traits, we have to really look into some of the close aspects of Prashant's character. The first one being he's a 19-year-old child who has lost his mother 7 years back. Okay. Second, he's courageous. He's courageous because without fearing anything, okay, he took up the task. He took up he decided that he has to go to his village, Kaligura, and see the condition of his family. So he is courageous. He is determined because despite the fact that there were floating carcasses and floating corpses around in the water, he did not give up. He still kept on moving for 18 kilometers. So he is determined. He is confident. He's confident. He's confident because he looked up to, he did not look up to anybody. He rather created his own team and took up this onus to ensure that the people, the 2,500 people in the relief camp should live in better conditions. He is a leader, okay? He's a leader because he has that leadership quality because he took up that ownership of going to the local merchants and talking to them. He propagated the idea of how to receive more food parcels from the helicopter. He was also a part of this how to engage the people in the relief camp so that they can divert their attention from their grief to something constructive. So he took up that leadership. He had that leadership skill to ensure that he is giving the people a ray of hope to live. He was also compassionate. He was also compassionate towards the people, towards the children, towards the widows, so that he devised some plans. He spoke to the government not to take away the children and the widows. Rather, he created a plan so that the widows can be accommodated in the same community and they can take care of the little orphans, right, in order to divert their attention from their grief. So yes, we see all these qualities that Prashant's character display. He's also very concerned very concerned for his family. When he traveled 18 kilometers despite the incessant rains, despite the floods, despite any kind of difficulties that he faced, he still visited. He traveled 18 kilometers just to see the condition of his family. So he is very, very close to his family. He is a family person. He is a compassionate person. He's concerned. He cares for everybody, right? So all these are a part of Prashant's character traits, all right? So with this, we come to the end of this chapter. And if in case you have any other particular chapter or any topic that you want me to explain, not just in literature, but also in grammar, do let me know. Thank you so much, and you all have a great day.